Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine. I am one of the project managers at the UBC Cloud Innovation Center. For our presentation, we have a couple members from our team doing presentations and demos for our portion. And I will be mostly just controlling the slide deck for my team members. So Marianne, are you able to hear me? Coral, can you hear me?
Hi, everyone. We'll just give Marianne another minute to see if she can join in because she was going to start off our presentation for us. Okay, well, I will kick it off, and Marianne, if you can join us, then you can take over. So hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to join you today to share a little bit about some of the things that we're doing at the University of British Columbia. So my name is Coral Kennett. I am the Digital Innovation Lead at the University of British Columbia Community Health and Wellbeing Cloud Innovation Center, which we call the UBC KIC because that's quite a mouthful. I work for Amazon, so I'm an employee of AWS, and since January, I've been full-time working at the UBC KIC. And so what we wanted to do today is share with you some of the things that we've been doing, because there's a lot of things that I think are replicable and relevant to all institutions across Canada. So I think you can move us along to the next slide, please, Catherine. So the University of British Columbia KIC opened officially this year in January 27th. We had our ribbon cutting ceremony. There's a photo there with our executive sponsors, Jennifer Burns and Simon Bates, Dr. Simon Bates, the Associate Provost, and Jennifer Burns, the CIO at UBC, our Academic Director, Dr. Kendall Ho. Of course, Dr. Santa Ono, the president of UBC, and some of our co-op students are in this picture as well. So we opened officially in January, and we were announced in July 2019 at the AWS Imagine Education Conference. And between those two dates, Marianne, who is our deputy director, who hopefully can join soon, worked really hard with a committee at UBC of staff, students, faculty, to really decide what the focus of the Cloud Innovation Center was going to be. And they decided on the theme of community health and well-being, how we were going to select challenges, and how we were going to work together in this collaboration between AWS and UBC. Next slide, please. So the mission statement that the transition committee formed was this. I'll just read it to you. To solve real-world challenges that materially benefit British Columbia, Canada, and the world by engaging and collaborating with stakeholders in community health and well-being innovation challenges. And we just wanted to highlight the point that this really is intended to be an innovation center for all of Canada. And the theme of community health and well-being is intended to be quite broad so that we can really work on a lot of different problems and opportunities that can benefit public sector. Next slide, please. So what is a KIC? So the Cloud Innovation Center program, it's a relatively small program at Amazon. There's only 12 Cloud Innovation Centers around the world. So the one at UBC is the only one that we have in Canada. There's a couple in the US, Australia, Germany. We just opened 2 in India. So there aren't very many of them, but the idea of this is to really be a collaboration between a public sector institution, which is a university sponsor, and a private organization, AWS. And the idea is to really bring together the best of both worlds. So of course, bringing in all of the benefits of a university, subject matter expertise, researchers, and of course students, which are a huge, huge part of what we do at the KIC. And from AWS, bringing together our technical expertise, our services, of course, our technology, and our innovation process, how we actually build product at Amazon. And so what we do is we source problems or opportunities from the community. So it's not a requirement that we work with public sector, but for the most part, all of the projects that we've worked on have been from public sector. And we do have projects from all across Canada. So we have had organizations submit challenges from Ontario, from Manitoba, from Alberta, and British Columbia so far. And these can be problems or opportunities where you think that maybe bringing an innovative technological solution would benefit. And what is the core of our program is to allow students the opportunity to learn by doing. So these are real organizations with real problems or opportunities. We work them, we go through our process, and then the students actually assist with managing the projects and building the solutions. One other key thing about our program is that everything we do is published under an open source license. So because our goal through this Cloud Innovation Center is to share our results to benefit society, to really provide replicable solutions, we want to make sure that these can be shared. So everything we do is an open source license, and we share that on the UBC website. All right, next slide, please. So a little bit on our process. So we won't spend too long on this, but just we did mention that we use the Amazon innovation process when we're developing our solutions. So what we do is very, very similar to how we actually build things at Amazon. So if you were to have any way of finding this out right now at Amazon, there are literally thousands of people writing press releases for their idea, for what it is that they are trying to put forward, for a new service, for a new idea. And it's the very first thing we do. So if you do have an idea, then that's one of the first questions you'll get asked is, where's your press release? And so the idea is, if you can get really, really clear about what you want that final outcome to be, what you want to share with the world about what it is that you're doing, if you can do that up front, then it gives you clarity to move forward and to really focus on what is the main benefit that you're trying to achieve. Who is the customer? Customer is a bit of a strange word for public sector. You can think of students. We do a lot of healthcare projects. It might be patients. It might be an internal customer that you're thinking about. But it's really designed to give us a lot of clarity in what it is that we're doing. And part of the reason for that is because we do have more than 175 services now at Amazon. So we don't want to start with the technology, because there could be a lot of different technologies that could be brought towards any given problem or opportunity. We really want to make sure we understand what it is that we're doing before we move forward. Next slide, please. And I like this quote because I think it really sums up what we do in the working backwards process. If I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would spend 55 minutes to determine the proper question. And so that's kind of at the heart of what we do at the front end of the Cloud Innovation Center process. We really spend a lot of time working with the organization to figure out what exactly is it that we're trying to solve before we start bringing all of the technologies to bear. And next slide, please. And so these are the 5 questions that we answer as a part of our process. Who is the customer? What is the problem or opportunity? Is the most important benefit clear? How do you know what they want or need? And what does the customer experience look like? So once we've answered those 5 questions and we have written our press release, that's when we move on to the technology and start actually building out a prototype of what the solution will look like. And so that's the next step in our KIC process. And next slide, please, Catherine. And this is just a representation of what it is that we come out with. So the press release we already talked about, the frequently asked questions document. So we ask all of the questions up front that we're going to need to answer, which really helps the tech team when they're moving forward to actually start building, and the visual representation. And so what we say about these 3 artifacts when we come out with the end of this process is that if our tech team, our developers, we have a lot of developers on our team, if they're not involved in any of the discussion up front, they should be able to read these 3 documents that have no technical information and be able to go forward and build what it is that we have envisioned. And next slide, please. And this is really at the heart of everything we do. So experiment, move fast, build fast. We build all of our prototypes in about 10 to 12 weeks. And we like to use the expression fail fast. So because we can have all of these different technologies at our fingertips, and we've thought so much about what it is that we're building, then we really just dive in and start building. And as we move along, we can pivot very, very easily. But we want to try and keep that spirit of experimentation with everything that the students are doing. And I think the next slide is our projects. So we've invited 3 of our co-op students to join us today because our program is so deeply rooted in student engagement. We really wanted them to be able to tell you the stories themselves of what they've been working on. So the first project is going to be Lee, and Lee is going to talk about a project that we actually did for the university. We've done a lot of projects, and one of them was actually for UBC. And so I'm going to hand it over to you, Lee, to talk about our first project.
Hi there, can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay, so the first project that we'll discuss is the online Zoom transcription project. So the reason that we developed this project was because as classes were transitioning online for the fall, universities were hoping to, and particularly UBC, were hoping to lessen the impact on students learning in the wake of this transition. And one tool that we thought would really help would be allowing Zoom lectures to be transcribed so that students can either view subtitles in real time or view a transcript of the entire lecture. So with that in mind, we decided to go forward with the transcription project. Can I grab the next slide, Catherine? Oh, okay. I actually didn't realize there's only one slide. Okay, so just moving on, I can do a brief demo of how this project works and do a quick run through. So I'll just start by sharing my screen here. So to show how this works, I can just start a Zoom lecture as I would usually, just to give an idea of how a professor would enable this service. So I can just start a new meeting as I usually would. I can join with computer audio here. And so I haven't done anything special when I've started my meeting. I can then go down to the bottom black tab here and click on close captioning. And then under use a third-party CC service, I can choose to copy the API token. I can then navigate over to the page that's behind this, which is the closed captioning for Zoom page on the UBC Learning Technology Hub website. So this was a project, I should add, that we completed in cooperation with the UBC Center for Teaching, Learning and Technology. This was a joint project between both of us. There's fairly detailed instructions of how this service works, but just in the interest of the demo, I can skip those and move straight on to enabling closed captioning for Zoom. Under Zoom API token, I can then paste the API token from the Zoom meeting, select the language and hit start. And this means that captioning is in progress and captioning is being sent to Zoom. If I return to my Zoom meeting here, I see a little notification that closed captioning is available. I can then select, and this would work either me and an instructor running the meeting, or this setting would also be available students or anyone viewing the meeting. I can then elect to show a subtitle, and this means that obviously everything that I'm being said is being shown down here. Another helpful feature, which I mentioned before, was also the ability to view a full transcript of the meeting. And that means that everything that's been said since closed captioning has been enabled is recorded on this tab on the right here. I can then choose if I would like to have a copy of the transcript from the meeting after the meeting has ended, I can choose to save the transcript, and then I can end the meeting. And as we'll see, immediately a transcript of the meeting has been saved to my files that I can, as a student, access for reviewing notes or preparing for exams or anything like that. Yeah, so this has just been a brief run through of the closed captioning for Zoom service. As we said, this was a joint project between us and the UBC CTLT. And if anyone from any other institutions is here and is hoping to develop this service at their own institution, as Coral mentioned, everything that we do is available online. Our code is available online, and it's published on GitHub if anyone would like to access it. Great. Well, I'll pass things back to Coral now.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, I think the cool thing about that project, of course, everything we do is, you know, our students are involved in everything. They build all of our solutions with supervision from our AWS and UBC solution architects. But part of the reason that we wanted to do that project, which I think was built in about 6 weeks, they got that one turned around. It was very, very cost effective. So it cost $1.44 an hour to run that service. And so the university, when you think about how many lectures they're running, they were really looking for something that was going to be quite cost effective. So thank you for that, Lee. And next up we have Jack. So Jack has been working on a project with the University of Toronto with some researchers there in the Department of Economics. Really trying to see if we could get some efficiencies in how they were approaching some of their research. So Jack is one of our veterans. He's been with us since June, and he has built some amazing projects, and this is one that we'd like to share with you. So over to you, Jack.
Can everyone hear me? Hello? Okay, awesome. All right, so for the University of Toronto Department of Economics project, the main purpose of this project was, or the main reason that we did this project was because for the researchers at the economic department, they were currently relying on manual labor from students to input the tabulated data for historic trade information from the government of Canada. And each of these files was over 900 pages long. So this would take basically months to complete. And the goal of this project was to just be able to leverage the results of this data to have a better understanding of trade patterns for research. Can we go to the next slide, please? So on the technical solution side, what it does is it's basically downloading the file either in a PDF or image format and checks what the file type is. If we determine it's a PDF, then we would convert it into an image. And this is just in order to enhance the quality of the image because the original PDF is quite blurry at times and it's not the best quality. And afterwards, we will send it to Amazon's OCR service, Textract, in order to find the tables and collect it into a CSV file. Now I'll be giving a quick demo of our project. So let me just share my screen real quick. Okay. So this is our current Amplified project for the U of T Textract. So on the left here, you can see that we have an upload file, such as a PDF or an image. And here we can specify, for example, if I want all the pages or if I want a specific page. For example, let's just get pages 1 to 2. We also have the option for page filter. So if you want even, let's say, for a page from 1 to 10, you only want pages 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Or if you want odds, just set it as none so we get both pages. And we have a confidence level, which basically acts as a filter. In Amazon Textract, they give you back a confidence level, which just shows you how confident they are of the result. By setting this level higher, we do get more accurate. We only return the more accurate data, but as a kind of trade back, we get less data. So generally, we advise that the default was 50. And once we process the file will get sent up to S3, which will then send a notification to the Lambda function to call Textract. To save a little bit of time, I already did a sample previously, and let's just show the results. So the raw CSV file is actually in a format as shown here, and you can just easily convert the data into a table format. And as you can see on the left here, we have United Kingdoms with, let me just see, ale importer and bottles, similar to our CSV file on here. And we can see that the values are exactly the same, actually. So 366,375, as well as 333,556. And it just continues along. And it keeps the same format as the original PDF for the tables. And this is just so that's easy for researchers to transfer this data elsewhere as it's now digitalized. And as you can see, the original PDF is not the greatest quality, and it would definitely take quite a while for researchers in order to get all of this data if they were to do it manually. So the purpose of this is just to save time and really just help them digitalize everything a lot faster. Currently, the solution is almost finished, and we will be publishing it into GitHub as an open source for others to use. So that's it from me. I'll be passing it back to Coral.
Thanks, Jack. Yeah, I think this is a really cool project too. So what they had said at the University of Toronto was they had someone working on this for several months, I think close to a year, and they were only able to process 900 pages, and they had something like 40,000 pages to process. So they were thinking, you know, they're going to be at this for about 50 years at that current rate. So in order to really be able to get down to the research, they were looking for a way to automate this process. And I think the other cool thing about this one, Jack is just starting his third project with us, and he's going to use this solution in our next project, which is with one of the medical centers here in British Columbia, where they have a similar situation where they have a large amount of data that's in forms, and they need to quickly get it out of these PDFs and into a usable format. So sort of that replicability. So Jack has been doing some work on that one. Okay, so the next presenter is Cindy, and she's going to talk about a project that we're currently about halfway through. So we don't have the solution finished yet, but we're getting closer. So Cindy, over to you.
Hi, thank you. I'm Cindy. I'm a project assistant with the KIC. I'm a fourth-year linguistics student at UBC, and I've been working with the KIC since August. So this project is for the Orchard Commons residence building in UBC, more specifically for their dining hall, because with COVID and its related restrictions, the dining room capacity has been limited. And student routines have also changed with online learning. So the plan is to add a functionality to an existing website, which is UBC Feed Me, which you can see on the slide, which already currently shows menu options, nutritional info, and hours of operation. We're hoping to add a functionality that displays in real time how many people are present in the dining hall and waiting in each of the lines for the food stations, so that students who are thinking of going down to grab a meal or a snack can make their choices from the safety of their rooms and increase their efficiency and ease their own anxiety around physical distancing in large group spaces. There will also be historical records of peak times so that students and staff can use that information to plan their future plans. and make changes to accommodate peak times so that there will be an end goal of fewer people waiting in line and fewer people physically present in the dining hall at the same time. And hopefully what we learn from this project can be applied to other dining spaces and study spaces on campus to further help these concerns. All right, that's all I have. Back to you, Coral.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, so this is a project, like we said, that we're still in process, and we're hoping that this can be highly replicable, not just across UBC, but of course across all campuses as they're looking at reopening and innovative solutions for that. And you know, we picked three. We've done a lot of projects with a lot of different organizations. We picked those first three because they were related to universities, which we thought would be of particular interest for this conference. But the next project that we want to highlight, we're going to talk about a research project that we worked on to look for new species and strains of coronavirus. And so hopefully Marianne is back with us. Were you able to get your sound working, Marianne? Yes, there we are, yay. Okay, so I'm gonna hand this over to Marianne to talk about this project.
Yeah, sorry about the problems before. So as Coral said, this was a open science project for researchers who were at the University of British Columbia and all over the world. And what these researchers decided to do was to take an unbiased examination of 4 petabytes of data. No, I didn't misspeak. It's 4 petabytes. Or if you want to think about it in terms of nucleotides, it's 5.6 quadrillion nucleotides of every known and unknown coronavirus. Next slide, Catherine. So with traditional high-performance compute clusters, this would have taken over a year to compute. And basically, what they did with this particular infrastructure is that they were able to perform 713 years of computing time in 7 days. Next slide. So the researchers did find coronaviruses. They identified more than 50,000 samples. And because it was an unbiased examination, they also found examples of coronavirus in samples they didn't expect. So for example, they found coronavirus in corn. Now, when I first heard that, it scared me a little bit. Now we've got coronavirus in our food source. But the researchers dug a little more deeply, and they found that at the time the corn sample was taken, there was an outbreak of coronaviruses in the local pig population. And the manure from the pigs was used to fertilize the farm. And so what this let the researchers know is that where animal species show signs of coronavirus, even the manure needs to be quarantined. So this is an open science project, and all of the data was available within 24 hours of generation. So if you go to Git, you can find all of the backup for this. This work continues. And we're hoping that the work that these researchers have done will help inform vaccines and vaccine development for the future, because as we all know, coronavirus can jump species, and so it will mutate over time. Next slide. Okay, so we do have a very large number of other projects in progress. Other than the ones that you have seen today. We have several with local health authorities. One is to support physicians caring for patients with dementia. Another is to measure post-surgery ambulation for patients in a rehab facility after they have left that facility, and that is to provide the physiatrists with additional information to increase their success. In terms of other health service providers, we are working with our local 911 folks on their non-emergency calls to assist their call takers. There's very high turnover among call takers, and so they want to make sure that their call takers are better supported. We have completed a project to provide additional information for first responders in emergent situations, and we have a second project underway, which involves your fine province. And we also are working on a project, actually we've just completed it, to ingest information from IoT devices, which measures heart rate and also whether a patient has left a geofenced zone in a long-term care facility. So those are some of the projects that we currently have in progress, just a couple that we've chosen to highlight for this particular presentation. And what are our takeaways from all the projects that we've done? So the first thing is fail fast and fail forward. The kick started, as Coral said earlier on in the presentation, in January. COVID hit us in mid-March, so we had to pivot. So we've had to really understand what the challenges were and respond to our challenge sponsors in the way that they needed us to respond, which wasn't quite how we had anticipated it from the beginning. Empower our students. Our students are absolutely amazing. They have done such excellent work, from redeveloping the MRI booking system to some of the projects you saw on the previous page. They have done the most amazing work, and we are so proud of them. And we are looking for additional opportunities to increase work integrated learning in the KIC. And engage our stakeholders. So Coral showed on the very first slide, there was an announcement in July of 2019, but we didn't actually open the KIC until January of 2020. And in that period, we engaged faculty and students at UBC in developing the mission, in planning how we would select challenges, and kind of setting the direction. And so we have buy-in from the institution. We're firmly rooted in the academic mission of the institution, though we're an innovation shop. And we hope to continue this for some years to come. That's it for the formal part of our presentation, but Coral and I and the students are happy to take any questions that you might have.
Excellent. So I know we have on the right-hand side of the screen, we have our Q&A function here. Marianne, to disappear, you just have to turn your camera, hit the camera button there. So if anyone has any questions, we can throw up there. Excellent. And I'm not too sure. Excellent. So are there any privacy concerns with the use of Amazon Textract? So Coral, I'm not sure if, or Cindy, if you want to answer that. I'll pivot to the experts who are part of this team.
Yeah, so we do work with a lot of, like as we said, we do a lot of work with medical projects, medical information, and with students as well. So we provide a lot of tools that can ensure that privacy and security are being maintained. And it's really up to each challenge sponsor in terms of what data they want to put into the project. We've done some projects using real data, like so real patient data. We've done some projects using de-identified data. We've done some projects using open data sets. So we really leave that decision up to the organization in terms of what data they want to use for us to develop the proof of concept. And if we are working with real data, then we have a lot of different tools that we can employ and give advice on how to best use those tools to make sure that we're compliant. We're in, in British Columbia, we have very strict privacy legislation that we have to make sure that we are adhering to. So yeah, we've really gone about it in a lot of different ways. And because these are POCs, in a lot of cases, we do use de-identified or public data sets in order just to demonstrate the solution, like really quickly. And then our challenge sponsors can go on and do all of the sort of privacy, the privacy impact assessments or security assessments that they need to do from there. I think one really good example of that, and Marianne mentioned it, was we did a project with the Provincial Health Authority, PHSA, in British Columbia for the MRI waitlist, MRI scheduler, to help reduce the waitlist times. And actually, Jack worked on that project as well. And for that one, we used de-identified data. But when we finished the project and we did the handover document, we had all of the information about what services had been used, what technical expertise would be needed, what the costs would be. They had a lot of information. So we do a handover document for every project that has just a ton of information about what's needed to actually run the solution. So PHSA is now completing the privacy impact assessment in order to put that proof of concept into production. And they really have all the information that they need to complete that PIA, as we call it, at their fingertips, because they do have that working proof of concept already. So every project's a little bit different, but we do leave that decision up to our challenge sponsor, as we call them, the organization that submitted the challenge, to decide how they want to proceed when it comes to what data we're going to use.
Another question that's popped up on the chat. I'm interested in particularly in data visualization and communication. Are there current projects that seek to share info, especially concerning the coronavirus, beyond the academic sphere in digestible formats for the public?
Yeah, we do have a lot of projects like that. And I would say a lot of our projects are either directly or indirectly related to the pandemic, really. But in terms of visualization, we are working with a healthcare authority right now in Ontario, where that's exactly what they want to do. They want us to assist them to figure out how can they build what we call a data lake, bringing all the data together, and then run analytics on it in terms of being able to predict the census data. So how can they predict how many patients are going to be in the hospital at any given time? So it's kind of got three parts. There's the building of the data lake, then there's building the algorithm to help predict what the census is going to be given the rising and falling levels of COVID. And then the third aspect of that is going to be that visualization, because the customer, and we talked a little bit about customers, the customer really is the business office. So the data science team is our sponsor at this health authority, but they're trying to provide data in a way that the business owners can use it. And so we're building a visualization tool. And we have another project in BC right now where they want to do something similar, where we can build a visualization for physicians when they're prescribing antimicrobials. So again, how can we bring all of this data together from various electronic health records and build a visualization? So that one is a really, the interoperability of all of these different systems is really the key to that problem that we're still trying to crack. We're getting there, but that's another one where we're going to see what we can do to help with the data visualization.
All right, this next one got upvoted. So for those who are in the Q&A, you can actually upvote questions here. How accurate is the texttract output and how much proofing is required?
I'm gonna see if Jack's on to answer that one. I could take a crack at it, but he's gonna do a much better job than I am. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, I can answer that one. So for the texttract output, it really depends on the input as well. So how accurate is the PDF? So as we can see from the open source data set for the historical data, the PDF is not the greatest quality. So on our end, we did enhance the PDF images to increase the quality of the resolution. And this improved the results of texttract. But on the texttract side, you can also set the confidence. And that's basically how accurate they themselves, the tool thinks of the result. And typically anything around like 60 or 70 it has been pretty accurate. But for our workflow with this project, we have asked the client to make sure to review the results and just to compare and make sure that their results are accurate.
Thanks, Jack.
Excellent. And one final question, and then we'll take a break. Valerie comments, interesting to see some of the projects. I'm curious what sort of supports that less technical students found most useful for hopping on these problems.
Yeah, so Marianne, I don't know if you want to talk about the different kinds of students that we work with at the KIC, and technical and non-technical. Maybe you want to take that one?
Yeah, actually, I asked Cindy and Lee if they would talk because they are two of those non-technical students. So I think we should hear from the students directly.
Good point.
Yeah, okay, I can talk a bit about that. So yeah, a lot of the projects are really technical, and there are a lot of details that are out of my personal experience, but I've worked very closely as a project assistant with the other student developers, especially to book meetings and talk to project sponsors about what they want to see from the project, and also to build out project plans so I know what they need to get done in each sprint, and I know how to support them. So I've learned a lot about their process and what I would need to do to support them in that process.